All right, the next lesson in geometry is called Trigonometric Inverses. Okay. So this goes along with the last lesson that we did. Okay. Previously, you've learned how to use trigonometric ratios to find the lengths of the sides of triangles. But what if you know the sides and you want to find the angles? To do this, we use what's called trigonometric inverses. Okay? Trigonometric inverses. So here we go. Example 1, find the measure of angle A to the nearest degree. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to put a star at angle A so we see it better. And the first question is to figure out which trigonometric function are we going to use. Are we going to use sine, cosine, or tangent? So let's figure this out, okay? This is opposite. The 100 is opposite angle A. The 41 is adjacent to angle A. And the other side is the hypotenuse. So we're going to use the trig function that has opposite and adjacent. So according to our acronym, SO, CA, TOA, that's going to be tangent because tangent has opposite, adjacent. So we're going to use tangent. So here's what I'm going to write. I'm going to write down tangent of angle A, so just tangent, capital A, equals opposite over adjacent. So opposite 100 over adjacent 41. Because tangent is opposite over adjacent. Now to solve for the measure of angle A, you're going to use the trigonometric inverse. So I'm going to say the measure of angle A equals tangent inverse. That's the notation. So that's what you're going to type in your calculator. There should be a button that looks like this on your calculator. You're going to type that button, and then you're going to do 100 divided by 41. Now, I'll show you how to do it on my calculator. Your calculator might be different, of course. Okay? You have to make sure you're in degree mode. Make sure you're in degree mode on whatever calculator you're using. For my calculator, it's in blue. Tangent -1. I don't know how well you can see that in the video. But I'm going to hit second tangent. And this is what comes up on my screen. Okay? Tangent -1 right there. I'm going to type in 100 divided by 41. And that's the answer. I'll say measure of angle A is approximately 67.706. It says nearest degree. So now I'm going to say the measure of angle A is approximately 68 degrees. Nearest degree, the question said. All right. Example 2. Find the measure of angle H to the nearest degree. Okay. So again, let me just label, I'll put a star with angle H so you can see it better. The 5 is opposite, and the 14 is the hypotenuse. Figure out which trigonometric function, sine, cosine, or tangent. So which one has opposite and hypotenuse? The top one, so it's going to be sine. So I'm going to say sine of angle 8, so just sine, capital H, equals opposite 5 over hypotenuse 14. So the measure of angle H equals sine inverse. 5 divided by 14. That's what you're going to type in your calculator. So for me, I'm going to hit second sine, and you see you get that button right there. 5 divided by 14. 20.9248. The question said nearest degree, so I'm going to say the measure of angle H is approximately 21 degrees. Let's try another one. So we just did tangent, we just did sine. I wonder what the next one's going to be. Find the measure of angle K to the nearest degree. So I'll put a star right there to help us see it better. 5 is adjacent. 8 is hypotenuse. So, of course, the only one we haven't done yet today is cosine. So, toa. Cosine is the one you want to use. Adjacent, hypotenuse, cosine. So I'm going to say cosine of K equals adjacent 5 over hypotenuse 8. So that means the measure of angle K equals cosine inverse 5 over 8. Type that in your calculator. Second cosine 5 divided by 8. 51.3178. And again, nearest degree, the question said, so 51 degrees. I'm not always going to say nearest degree. I could say nearest tenth. Could say nearest hundredth if I wanted. But these all happen to say nearest degree. Okay. So, example 4. Find the measure of angle D and the measure of angle E to the nearest degree. Now this one you have all 3 sides labeled. So you can do anything you want. You can use sine, cosine, or tangent. Okay. Let's start with angle D. And again, use whatever you want. Use sine, cosine, or tangent because you have all 3 sides. So let's start with D. I'll go with sine for angle D. Let's do sine. Okay. So I'll say sine of D equals opposite, which is 8, over hypotenuse, which is 10. Therefore, the measure of angle D equals sine inverse of 8 over 10. Okay. Use your calculator. Sine inverse, 8 over 10. About 53 degrees. I'll just write it all out now. So 53.1301, which will round to 53 degrees. It said nearest degree. Now, that's great, so let's erase that. Now let's get the measure of angle E. Now, you should know what this is very quickly, because all the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So if you take 180 and you subtract out 90 for the right angle, and you subtract out 53, because we just got 53 for angle D, then you should know the answer is going to be 37 degrees. But I want you to do it out anyway, just to be sure, because if you got D wrong, then you're going to get E wrong automatically. Let's do our angle E anyway. Okay? Again, we can use any trig function we want because we have all 3 sides. We can use sine, cosine, or tangent. We just did sine, so let's switch it up. Let's do cosine for angle E. So I'm going to say cosine of E equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So 8 over 10. So the measure of angle E equals cosine inverse 8 over 10. You type that in your calculator. Cosine inverse 8 over 10. You get about 36.8699. And then you can round that to 37 degrees. And again, like I said before, those two angles should add up to 90 because all the angles in the triangle add up to 180, and you already have the 90-degree angle. So if you double check, we have 90 plus 53 plus 37. That does add up to 180. Okay, so that's a good way to double check your answer. All right, last one. We have one word problem. Now it's really hard to see the diagram, so you probably can't see this on the video. But you have a 3D drawing of a ladder leaning up against the wall. Very hard to see. But I have the post online as well. Okay, the ladder is 5. That's labeled, and it's 2.5 feet away from the wall, which is redrawn over here nicely. Okay, the question is, what angle does the ladder make with the wall? So that is the angle that it makes with the wall. If I said what angle does the ladder make with the ground, that would be this angle down here. But I said the question says what angle does the ladder make with the wall? So that's x up there. So we're going to solve for x. This is opposite x, and this is the hypotenuse. So again, which trig function is that? Sine. Okay. So I'm going to say sine of x equals opposite, which is 2.5, over the hypotenuse, which is 5. So it means x is going to equal, I'm not going to put measure angle x because x is in the inside. I'm just going to say x equals sine inverse of 2.5 divided by 5. Type that in the calculator. 30 degrees. Exactly 30 degrees. So, since it's the word problem, let's put that in a sentence. The ladder makes a 30-degree angle with the wall. The other thing I could ask you is what angle does the ladder make with the ground? And it would be 60 because all the angles add up to 180. Or you could do that out too using cosine. Okay. That's the end of that angle. That's the end of that lesson. That lesson was called Trigonometric Inverses. That's what you use when you want to solve for the missing angles in a right triangle.